We're recording now. So this is the main camera. He doesn't, and most people talk, don't worry about his, you know what I mean?
Lines get it done by the end.
Yeah, should come in. That is not something we need. Oh, it is? Oh, that's it. Maybe that's it. So turn mine off.
Go check.
Okay.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
What happened?
You know how this bar is going up?
Yeah.
Like,
This part.
so I'll just leave it on. Just to,
Well, the thing is,
oh,
where's my
I might have.
Pues bien, sí, madam. Looks good. I think okay. So this production on the Gitxsan. Welcome, Tama. Hi, we get smoking with eggs. Tomorrow, no.
Just go for it.
I'm a human. Cindy left on Sigurd of a nap.
Gotta go get her.
And our honored guests, welcome you this morning. I'm saying the prayer. And so I'd invite you to pray in your own way as we lift our hearts and our minds up to the Creator God. Samogidam lahagi. Doyersin nin satun amasa. Dumla hogir dumla laom. Ni hogir dumla algeram. Dumla dumla we lachib. Ishtan itchslaom. Nedi am ilums and tadish lachib. Laluguan dum sait laom. Ich kinai hiluchtun. We samogidam laha. Nin dum den trum. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a fairly tight agenda, and I wanted to say to you before going further, I basically welcomed you and or addressed you in our Gitxsan language. We call it Somalia also, and it's crucial, I think, in my mind, and a lot of our people feel the importance and strength of our language. And so when we address in public, in meetings or anywhere, that's how we start. And that immediately gets the attention. And so at this point, I'm going to ask Simogit Kedamgaldo to welcome you to the territory.
Simgiget, Sigurd in this school of Walters. Sorry, I didn't. Lord's ministry. I want to welcome the ministry for being here. Flynn Rowe, DFO, Parks Canada, Mayor, and Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. Welcome to the territory, and I sincerely apologize. I cannot sit in with you today. I've got previous commitments. I've got some issues with my body, and I've got doctor's appointments. So welcome to the territory. Enjoy your stay, and thank you very much.
The next part of our agenda, we're going to be looking at opening remarks by Sim Giget. Before I get into that, one of the things that we had determined and looked at in the beginning when we did the Gitxsan 101 was that we had chosen their chiefs to be a part of the presentation. Then in this Gitxsan 101B, we looked at representatives from each of the watersheds that have agreed to with the strategic engagement agreement. So we have representatives from each of the watersheds, and so the Simgiyet that you're going to be listening to will identify which watershed they will be coming from, and providing opening remarks from their perspective on ongoing relationships with the ministry, DFO, or the different departments and different ministries. At this point, I call on Sumogit Wimanosik.
Sim Giget. Sige mana. Als ik op is. Daar is een eerste boxen. Nog mee is een huis eigenlijk kan hem gewoon doen. Daar is het missen. Will boxen. Not will boxen. Just a brief explanation. Get him all know. Is the hereditary chief of this village and this territory. And the reason sometimes when you welcome the Simgiyet and others that come, usually you get an invitation when the chief is going to do his business. And all the chiefs throughout the surrounding area, throughout the territory, come to, let's say, Gitmax. And when they all arrive, because 100 years ago, 150 years ago, everybody walked. And you would walk for 1 day, maybe 2 days, and sometimes 3 days to come and to witness some of the business that the hereditary chief is going to do. That's why he welcomes you. He admires your commitment to the system. Coming for walking for 2 or 3 days and staying in your community for 2 or 3 days before he leaves again. That's why he welcomes you. It's not like you get in your vehicle and 50 miles later you're here. We continue that. We continue that tradition that our ancestors set forward in our ayah. So that's very important to us. And then I return although I thank him for coming and doing what he did. The reason why I brought that up is the respect we have for each other. The respect we have for our family, our children, and the land. The land being, we're connected with the land. So whatever we do is, it will have long-term effects So that's why we are so cautious when it comes to discussing about what needs to happen on the land. We had a considerable discussion on what we should be saying. I think the importance of living off the land 150 years ago and transferring some of that knowledge and some of the experiences that my grandparents experienced, they passed that on. Ang mabait wisdom, tita. That's enough. If a person is not following the grandparents and even other chiefs will stop that individual and give advice. So you heard that phrase, community brings up the child, and it's still happening within our communities right now. So the house group is so important. You will see that unfold today. And the amount of respect we have for each other, the amount of respect we have for the land. I remember, gotta be 40, 50 years ago, some of my grandparents would be just crying, seeing some of the logging that's happening. Next time I know one individual
Plugged in.
went up to his trap line, came back, and he could not believe there's nothing left. So that's why we, I guess, some of the thoughts that we have as Gitxsan people, you have to understand where we're coming from. And hopefully by the end of the day, today, you will understand why. I think you only gave me 5 minutes, so I better stop right there. Thank you. I could talk to you all day.
because of the work that they do, the cost of the work that they do on our, for the Gitxsan, it's important that we always acknowledge them, because they have the last say. They have the only say when it comes to their life. Of course, consulting with their members and how best that they can keep moving ahead. At this point, I would like to ask that our guests to introduce themselves and a quick statement on what you hope to get out of this Gitxsan 101B. I'll start with Gordon here.
Good morning. My name is Gordon Neely. I'm the timber sales manager for the Skeena business area, Flynwood. Yeah, I like a little deeper awareness of the history and traditions of the Gitxsan culture and see how we can all work together on the land.
My name is William Elliott. I'm a consultation advisor with the district office in Smithers. And I'm always looking to deepen my understanding of Gitxsan culture, Gitxsan history.
I'm Heather Carson. I am a First Nations advisor out of Stewart and Chaparral, and I work out of the Port St. James office. I am hoping to further what we learned in 101A, and also I personally don't get enough opportunities to come out to Gitxsan territory and talk with everyone, so I really appreciate these opportunities.
My name is Leanne Altenberg, and I'm with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. Probably the only one here. Yeah, and I'm here obviously to learn a little bit more about their hereditary system. I don't know a lot. I was not here for 101, so I might have a lot of questions, or I might just do a lot of listening. So thank you for having me. Awesome.
Hi everyone, I'm Carla Full. I'm with the Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation. This is actually my third week on the job, and I'm visiting from Victoria, so I'm really just feel very grateful to be here today and to learn and to hopefully meet all of you. So thank you so much for having me.
Hi, I'm Bob Phipps. I work for Flynn Arrow BC Timber Sales, that being business area. I'm here to just understand and build on the 101 session to understand the perspectives of not just the Gitxsan people, but perspectives of the hereditary chiefs and how they view things. I think it's going to help me understand and work better with doing my job and stuff like that. So.
Good morning, I'm Janice Joseph with BC Parks. I am the Skeena Area Supervisor based out of Terrace. I did get to attend 101 and I'm excited to be here. I appreciate learning more about the Gitxsan culture, the history, their concerns, and look at ways at how I can apply that to the areas I manage. Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Natalie Newman. I work at the Fisheries Office CFO in Smithers, community advisor. So I work a lot in this area. I'm here to deepen my knowledge of Gitxsan culture. I also wasn't here for 101A, so might need a little bit of help along the way. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrea Follett. I'm with First Nations Relations. I work as an advisor in the Nora building in Smithers. Thank you so much for having us today and for having me. I'm interested in learning more about your culture and your concerns, and looking forward to working with you in the future.
Good morning all. My name is Samantha Verde. I'm a policy analyst with Resource Practices Branch out of Smithers. And I'm always looking to deepen my understanding, particularly of the Gitxsan culture. And I am very happy to see some familiar faces and old friends here today. Oh, thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Agent Fitzpatrick. I'm the Senior Advisor for the West Mountain District in Terrace. I was accredited with the Gitxsan when I was in the CTS, which is 101. 101, Gitxsan 101, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm really happy to be here again and to deepen our relationship, and I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
My name's Brian Hernan. I'm a First Nations Relations Advisor out of the Skeena Region District Force. I've only been in the position for around 6 months now, so just continuing to build on 101 and to deepen my understanding. So, thank you for having us.
Hello everyone, thanks for having us. My name's Katie Beach. I'm a biologist, a stock assessment biologist with DFO with Prince Rupert, and I'm also helping out with the Indigenous program at CAFS for another few weeks, and so pretty interested. I'm new to DFO, I'm new to the North, kind of. So interested in learning about Gitxsan culture and the hereditary systems and how it's best to work with. Thanks.
I'm Wendy Evans. I work with DFO in Prince Rupert. I'm an African Programs Officer, and I work mainly with the AFS agreements. And yeah, I didn't attend the 101, so just looking to broaden my understanding. And thank you.
Thank you for having us here. I'm Andrew Debrak, First Nations Relations Advisor at the Speaker's Office at Ministry of Forests. I'm just looking to build upon what Gitxsan and how we can work more effectively with you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric Telford, and I work as a natural resource specialist in the Speaker's Office. And I'm relatively new to the area and brand new to Gitxsan, so I'm just grateful to be here, and thank you very much.
I'm Mark Wong. I work as the engagement biologist with Fish and Wildlife of the Smithers Office. I was able to attend 101, and I get to come here a lot to work with the facilitators on wildlife management issues, so I'm excited to be here and learn more in 102 or 101B.
Hi, my name is Rick Boudoir. I'm an applied anthropologist with Crossroads Cultural Resource Management, and I believe I was invited here today to whip soap berries. I did 101, so I'm ready and waiting.
Good morning, my name is Marley Bodie. I'm a First Nations Relations Advisor of the Skeena office in Ministry of Forests, and I attended the 101A session, and today I'm really looking forward to deepening my understanding of the culture and building a relationship to work moving forward. Thank you very much for having me.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Crystal. I'm an advisor with First Nations Relations as well, out of the Speaker's Office. And I was able to attend the 101, and it was really helpful for me, and I'm looking forward to deepening my understanding and building on that so I can work with Gitxsan.
Sindiket sigamana kubuwilsa khanits kubuki hafun toek zanisan samagitwaha. My name is Leonard Canoe. I'm a fishery officer, and I work out of Nilahantz. And I'd like to thank Madam Galgo for welcoming us into your Gitxsan land. Sorry, I'm Gitxsan. So, I'm looking forward to learning. I know the Niska and the Gitxsan are similar, and I'd like to see where there's a little bit of differences. I know our dialect is different. So I'd like to apologize that more of my department wasn't here, because I believe it's important that we as enforcement understand the reasons why certain people are at certain fishing holes and why certain Samagas are caretakers of certain pieces of land within the Gitxsan territory. So I'm happy to be here and willing to learn.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Bergsma. I am Senior Fisheries Technician with DFO in Prince Rupert. I'm on assignment in that position from our habitat program. I did not take the Gitxsan 101A. I'm here to learn as much as I can today and meet new people, and thank you for welcoming me to your territory.
Thank you.
My name is Kayla Hooker, and I'm a project manager for the Ministry of Forest, Lands, and Natural Resource Operations. I attended 101, and one of the things I heard was that there was an interest to do a 201 or 101D, that you have a lot that you can share with us. And I think a lot of my colleagues got a lot out of that first session. So I'm really looking forward to this next session. And when I heard that that was something that you wanted to do, we in the Ministry of Forest, Lands, Natural Resource Operations have a staff-driven training proposal opportunity. And myself and some colleagues, Patty Hirschfield, Sam Day, and Roger, we wanted to take the opportunity to make this happen. So thank you very much for coming together again to take this a step further and to also help our colleagues that didn't take the 101. And I hope that we'll be able to continue to have more of these in the future. And I would encourage anyone to take advantage of those staff-driven training opportunities to make sure that we can learn more about the Gitxsan and the Nishka and all the other nations that we work with. It's really important for us to be out here on the land and in the communities and listening and hearing from the people that live here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jesse Fraser. I'm a geomatics specialist with the long name ministry. Geomatics specialist. I make maps, let's be honest. I'm really happy that you guys welcomed us out here and that we're able to share perspectives and learn your guys' perspectives about your territory and how your system works. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Patty Hirschfield. I'm a manager presently with the Ministry of Forest, Lands, Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development. As guests here, thank you very much for the invitation to come and learn about Gitxsan history or Ayuk. I'm going to learn more about how much I don't know today. And I also just wanted to say that it's not often that we get 5 different provincial ministries. We get Canada here from DFO, and you know, one of the takeaways is definitely going to be some relationship building. In addition to learning about you know, the class materials today, so I think that's something I'm looking forward to as well. We don't do it enough, yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Morning. My name is Torbjorn. I'm representing the Ministry of Energy and Mines. Thanks very much for welcoming me here onto your beautiful territories. Once again, I just really treasure the opportunity to listen and to continue to learn from you, directly from you. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Patrick Person. I'm a planning forester for BC Timber Sales here in Hazelton. Thank you for having me, and I just like having the opportunity to interact and with faces I know or meet new faces of people in the community, and it's just it's always good to continue to learn and understand the culture of where you live. Thanks.
Thank you for your introductions and why you come today. I will now get into the. I always want to say something, but I gotta stop. Think I'm taking somebody's time, so I better not. So I'll get into the facilitators. There will be 2 who are not available. The Kispioch Watershed Facilitator, Bill Blackwater Jr. is not feeling well today and may be able to come in this afternoon, however, so we apologize for his absence this morning. And also the Kidwanlach Simgiyat Lachip Society were not able to be present today. Have also have a strategic engagement agreement with MER. And then we also have a new person that will be looking after the Mid-Skeena. I'll ask her just to introduce herself, gets the opportunity. So first of all, we have Kevin Stevens.
So if he dies, if he just stopped recording, that's what this is.
Simgigat, Sigimana, Niskin Babolsa. Boy, Nisim, Wubaksa, Mamasa, Dun, Hogamaha, why, Guye, whoops, Guye. So, I'm Kevin Stevens, I carry the name Hogamaha, and I'm from Whoops, Guye. I see a lot of familiar faces out there, so just gonna keep this simple, I guess, in regards to some of the referrals that I get. Just so if you don't know me, that I've got mostly a forestry background. I've been involved in forestry close to 30 years, I guess, straight out of high school, different levels, and a lot of labor jobs, a lot of kind of management positions, I guess. But now it puts me on a different side of the table with you guys. So yeah, so just wanted to keep it quick before we get into the rest of the stuff. So that's me. Thanks.
And Smith.
Good morning, I'm Ange Smith. I'm the Sestat watershed facilitator. Like what Kevin said, it's nice to see some familiar faces, and I like what you said, where it's about building relationships and getting to know each other a little bit on a human basis, and thinking, okay, we have some tough work that we have to do as watershed facilitators, because as you can see with the Gitxsan and with people in general, land's important, fish is important, water's important, all of these important issues for us. So we all hold it dear to us, and we are working hard to work together in systems that we aren't that familiar with. And on the ground, it's challenging too, because we have our own systems to deal with and challenges, and it becomes really tough at times. And that's where it's good to have a team where we stick together and where we learn off of one another, and we have different things like language to hold on to, we have family to hold on to, we have things that make us stronger. And I really appreciate that I have the table that I have, that I work with. The group of chiefs I work with are very, they've worked in the watershed system before, so they're very open to it and willing to work with, and that part of my job has been my favorite part of the job. So when I have my meetings with the chiefs, that always levels me out, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be here with my Aunt Dorothy, to be here on behalf of the Sustat table today. Last time it was Rena Benson, this time it's my Aunt Dorothy, and that's the whole idea of changing it up and having different people involved. So, but all in all, it's all important, and I look forward to spending the rest of the day. I look forward to lunch too. Thank you.
She just forgot to give her Indian name, and her Indian name is Heavenly West, from the house of Willash. Linda Matthews.
I'm here. Watching the get Sigurd and Kuba Wilsons. Honored guests, thank you for coming. I'm so happy to see you all here. The ones Wahi, Will Stone Plus, Will see Whitby. Is Asperday. My English name is Linda Matthews. My Gitxsan name is DeWans, and I belong to the House of Stone Clocks. And I'm asked, I live in Gitmax, but I originate from Gitxsan. And I'm really happy to see all of you here, a lot of familiar faces, and I am so excited to do our presentations this afternoon, and I'm sorry that Bill was unable to stay, Bill Blackwater Jr., because we were going to do the light, which would have been so much fun, but maybe that will happen in 101C. And I'm so happy to see there's thunder in the room.
So we have a new facility here, but hasn't started the position yet, so I'd like to call on Lindsay West. Tell you which watershed she'll be working on.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Lindsay West, but or Lindsay Nice. I'm from the Kispiox community here in Hazelton. My Gitxsan name is Dipuk, and I'm from the House of Goyant. I'm here representing the Middle Skeena watershed. I'm really looking forward to working with the chiefs that I've been assigned and getting started with all of you here. Most of my employment and education background has been in general business and finance, so I'm looking forward to bringing my breadth of skills, and I'm very much looking forward to all that I will learn in working with you guys and my grouping of chiefs. I'd like to thank Brian and Betty for including me in today, and I very much look forward to all of the presentations that we'll be seeing today as well. So if anybody would like to introduce themselves, I've tried to introduce myself to as many as I could prior to the meeting, but we can chat after. So thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you to all of the facilitators. So we bring to the table, as they are and will be most familiar with working with all of the different representatives from the different ministries. So I wanted to, well, I didn't want to, I was told I had to summarize Gitxsan 101. So we went through a real broad overview of who the Gitxsan are, who the Simgigit, the Wilp. We talked about each of the representatives, the facilitators, went in depth on what experiences they have, who they are, how they got there, and where they're coming from. And to be honest, it was very strong, very emotional, and very powerful. Because what they bring to the table to share and provide on behalf of the chiefs is something that needs to be recognized. Gordon was able to provide an update from time of memorial to present day of where and what the Gitxsan have been involved with. And he may touch on that a little bit later on. And I wanted to reflect on a letter that Linda Robertson provided to us. And she talked about this was a clear change in direction. It hit home November 20th. The session was a fitting conclusion to the presentations done by the different ministries to the watershed facilitators. And she said, and what I reflected, we got a good glimpse into what it means to be Gitxsan and the honor and responsibility that carries with it. We need to continue to learn and understand each other. When we talked about the, in the session, we talked about Gitxsan 201, Gitxsan 301, all the way up to 501. But in the meetings that we conducted to put this on the table and bring to you as an audience, we noted that some may come back and we may see some new faces. And so we have a combination of both, which I'm happy to present. And we're also very happy to see DFO here. They are going to be a partner in the times that we're going through. We talked about the history on what we ran into as individuals and the things that have happened to the Gitxsan. However, we want to continue to move ahead. We want to continue moving forward. We want to continue to look at building relations, building partnerships. This is where we're coming from. The Gitxsan have taken much pride in their language. We continue to use it, and I think one of the Simogits reiterated the importance and the message it brings. Which brings us immediately into the next part of our agenda, the importance of our Gitxsan language. And they call on Ann Smith and DeWans, who will be providing input on the Gitxsan language. It's Cheyenne. Thank you.
Singiget, Sigidimhana, Gantgubulose, and Subsiben Shlu Amgodi Win Yaasam Amahilutun. My presentation's brief, not because the topic, we understand the importance of the topic. We wanted to, the focus for the presentation later has a broader focus, and we just wanted to take part of the language out to make sure that we know this is of huge importance. So my slideshow is very brief and it's very broad strokes. And if you want to go to the next slide. And another one. So I just took 3 quotes out of my Aunt Jane Smith. She's got her doctorate. And so this is her reference. And I've talked to her and we put these 3. I'll just get on with it. Get on to the next slide. Gitxsanamuk is the language of the Gitxsan Nation. The linguistic basis for Gitxsanamuk is Samalgyak, the mother language of the Gitxsan, as well as the Tsimshian and the Niska. There are 2 main dialects for the language in the Gitxsan territories, the Western dialect and the Northern dialect. Because of Indian residential schools, the children could not listen to the wisdom of the elders. They could not know their identity and have self-confidence if they could not express themselves in the language of their people. Language is a social history of people, structuring social perceptions of the past and interpreting the future, that is, creating consciousness. Nationalism is often rooted in language. An attack on language injures national identity and personal status, while emphasis on language often indicates a focus on dignity and political power. Sada.
Amahito Simgiget Sigdamhana Kubuiksi Walnipegwood Ministry Flinro ECTS Parks Walnisab Skayan Wit Kidwangach Wansa Witwi Ali Lachyip Lachskik Kidwangach Isakaitum and Skaktum and Oyaks Gedum Galdo and me and Nakop with we Lachyip and there's some gigetis. Max. My name is Kayan. I'm from Kidwangach, Lachyip. You'll hear Lachyip a lot. Lachyip isn't territory. It's our land. It's what we're connected to. I'm from the Lachyip of the Kidwangach, along the Kidwangach lands right from Legate Creek all the way to Endemol. And I heard one of the statements from Leonard from the Nispat. It's important to know all the Enat fishing holes, trap lines, all the Lachyip along the river, who is permitted, who holds the name that is tied to that Enat. Enat is another word you need to know. It means fishing ground, fishing hole, fishing site. It's very important to us. Before I explain what I do as Kayan, as Anita Davis is my English name, my first tongue is the Gitxsan language, so I'm very passionate about what I do. And Brian, thanks for giving me an extra 5 minutes to do this presentation. I cornered him in the kitchen and I told him I need more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes. He says, well, just show your slides and then talk a little bit. I'll take some of the minutes off the agenda for Gitwangach. I used to be the Gitwangach Lachyip facilitator. She's not here, but I spoke to her yesterday. Her name is Arcadia Bright. She's replaced me as a facilitator, but I told her you should be at tomorrow's meeting. It's at 10 o'clock. She wrote it down. I don't know why she's not here, but I told her it's important to be there tomorrow. You'll meet and network with the people that you'll be working with, and she thought it was a great idea, but she's not here, but you'll get to meet her soon. So what I do in my own personal time, my project is the Tsetliksit Language and Culture Camp. Tsetliksit is part of the big word for Tsetliksit, which is the fishing site where I grew up as a little girl. And I was brought there as a newborn and I grew up in this spot, and it's my home. And so I named it Tl'Liksit Language and Culture Camp TLC, but really it's Tl'Liksit Sim'elgich and Zach Lachskik. So it's the place where the Lachskik fish do their fish and harvest and preserve. Whenever I say gup, Ruby, gup means go ahead, gup. We started off with a protocol welcome. It's called Lu Deltu. Lu Deltu. When there's a death and a body arrives back to that community, the Simgiget, the chiefs, welcome that person back. When there's an event such as today, the Samagit from that Lahib, Lu Deltu, you guys, welcomed you, did the protocol welcome. So this, sorry Brian, I have to explain this slide. I also host the people of the Skeena Field School through the college, and they came to our fishing site and I wasn't able to be there for the important protocol welcome, so I asked my granddaughter Armea, Leonard's granddaughter as well, through her dad. We're all connected, you see. And I told her, I said, you need to do this protocol welcome. I might make it back from Terracin time, but the college students will be here at 10. And just welcome to them to the Lahib, and you know, and just let them know that I will try to make it back. So hopefully the video works, but click on the little arrow and you'll hear her.
I just want to welcome everyone to on this beautiful day on behalf of the Eagle Clan. My name is Knox, and it means act like a big lady, and I got that name from my Gigi when she was a little girl. Now she holds the name Skyan, and she used to hold the Hayat, but my mother now holds it. I just want everyone to know and respect that we're on the land that our ancestors walked on, and so just to be thankful for this beautiful day and to have fun. Thank you. Thank you.
So there's a few things you need to notice. Her confidence is one of the things we teach, and her personality. I told her what to say, but she added more to it. So she practiced, well, she explained to them Gwelchiens. Gwelchiens is another big, huge word that I'll always preach, and that means the act of passing down to the next generation, the next one, forever. Gwelchie is forever. And so we got that from our ancestors, and now we pass it down to our future generation. So what she did there was she explained who she was next. I held that name when I was a little girl. And then I went up to, I had another name before that. I went up to Hayat Khan. Her mother holds that name today. And now I hold Sayan, and she was explaining, kind of hinting that her mother may hold that name one day, and then she might. So she did some, you know, insinuations there. So, and yeah, she said more than what she needed to, but she said a lot. Go.
I just want to welcome everyone.
Playing again. Just a picture of Cedar weaving class in, back up a little. In 2015, the youngest class that my daughter wove to. So I'll try to speed up a little bit here. Notice all the kids smiling, happy. Go. Go. Sim'elgich is Gwelchiens, like I said before. It's our first language, it's our first tongue, and it makes us unique, and that's where we get our dachget, our strength. Sim'elgich stebjet. literally means our grandfather's tongue. When we say yet, it means our ancestors. It doesn't mean just the grandfather. It means all grandparents, great-grandparents, our ancestors. So there's two meanings. Go. So now we're the elders. We're accountable. We can't keep saying the elders need to do it. We have gotten there. We're the future ancestors. And it's up to us to practice Gwilchie. Go. The blue is the people that don't even understand the language. So we have a few fluent. We've done a survey. We and a group of volunteers, very dedicated, committed, and passionate group, have gotten together since fall of 2017 as a concern for our language, and we did a survey to assess our language. We now have 6% of speakers left in each of the Western communities. We did one on this end as well, but we didn't get a good response. So we're focusing on the Gits, which is the Western 3 communities of Gitniao, Gitwangach, and Gitiguklep. I'm saying use the language. Sim Algach. Sim Algach is, Sim means real, so that's the real language. And we're under Sim Algach as Gitxsan, Nisqa, and Tsimshen, all similar. It's a similar dialect. So you'll hear Gitxsanam interchanged with that. Kayla.
Yes, thank you. I was just curious of the 6.2%, are most of those fluent speakers elders, or are there younger people as well that are able to continue sharing?
Very good question. Of the 6%, 6.2%, that equals 50 speakers left in each of the communities average. There's 49, 50, and 51 or something like that. Of those speakers, it's 55, age 55 and up. And so, yeah. Very important to bring our children, our people back to the Lachib. I need to read this. Make the journey to the beginning, a beginning that reflects our true identity as Gitxsan people. Bring all the children back to Lachib and act to strengthen ownership and identity. Show them who they are and connect them to the ancestors' tongue, the land, the fishing holes, everything, all of the above. Gwachzetlixit and act is one of our main and act as Lachskik, the Eagles, the Eagle clan from Gitwangach. This is an actual photo before we built a new smokehouse. The new smokehouse is right here, and that's my mom's smokehouse. What's remaining of the smokehouse, and unfortunately trespassers have slowly taken that down, the walls, and I needed to put this on. There's no Wi-Fi in the forest, but I promise you will find a better connection. Zetlixit Lachskik and Zach, which means Zetlixit, I shortened the word to Zetlixit. Zetlixit is plenty of whirlpools. The whirlpools in the river just around the corner at the rock there. So we have place names. We have little spot names as well. There's even a name for where we set our net across the river. This here is my sister and I checking the net last summer, just on this side of the river. We're better to immerse our people in language and our whole way of life than on our Lachib, our act. And sorry, back up. A few of you in this room have been to the camp, the Enzok I'm talking about. They've had a little cultural awareness day at the site. And it's good to see some familiar faces, so they know exactly where I'm talking about. It's between Cedarvale and the Oliver Creeks. It's right near Hells Bells Creek, so I show that on this map. Ritchie Ring is what I call this. Is Ritchie Lane. Ring is road, so that's our little main street at camp. Well, a law of Gitxsan means our way of life, and what we are teaching there and what we're doing as Gitxsan activities is the language immersion. Fish harvesting is the main activity, berry picking, weeding, beading, moccasins, storytelling, gathering medicinal plants, singing and drumming, among other things. Tachsa Legitins is August. This was when we held camp in 2015, so I just kept the calendar. Thachs is month, Legitins is grizzly, the month of the grizzly. So every month that when we say like January, February, all the way to December means something. Thachsa Mat, Thachsa Lach, which means the month where you catch lots of trout, or Thachsa Benuguik is September, which is the month for the groundhog. Nida. I'm still learning as well, so I've learned a lot over the last 2 years, just really focusing. I focus on language a lot, but I'm like in deep now. This is what I do now. Asakaktum de Pulacht, which is our future, our goals. Our goals are, like I said, all the teachings, practices, our boundaries is very important. A lot of our own people don't realize where the boundaries are for their deck, their clan, their house. And so that's important because we have our own ayok, our laws about trespass and going across to someone else's lahyip. You need permission. Our connection, our harvesting of fish, berries, everything. Protocol training, the hereditary system, and a big one is respect. Ta'ams. Ta'ams is respect. That's one of the first things we teach when I think a few of you here have heard me when we go into the river to start cleaning our fish. The first thing you show the fish is respect. No one is to play with that fish or flick blood or laugh at it or mistreat it. It has to be, you have to show respect and thank the Creator for giving you that, for eating. Important to teach teamwork and unity as well. And we saw my granddaughter with confidence doing the welcome. Some alga. So this is an immersion class, and there's a cultural instructor. She's taught in many schools over the years, so we were fortunate for her to agree to come to camp this past summer. Her name's Katie, and I want to play a little clip, and I don't know if the sound volume is too low. So she's just teaching, you know, all the facial features there, and she's turning around, look, or yell what she's trying to get the kids to say. Bitint was a new word that I learned this past summer, and I was very fortunate enough to have our Samagit Sakomirok attend last summer's camp. So I learned a lot of new words from him. And I told him we were going to go check the net. He said, oh, you've done Bitint. So I'm like, Bitint? What? He said, you're going to go check the net. So a lot of our words have this meaning where it requires explanation. Oh, we're going to go check the net. It ink is what it means. Go. Go. This is a poster that we developed. So it just shows the cycle of what happens when you want to get the fish into the smokehouse. Then at is the fishing site, you set the net. Looks hun, you soak the fish overnight or about 4 hours, and there's a couple. Anybody here know why you soak the fish?
Soften the meat and clean off the slime.
Now say it in Gitxsan. That's why, yeah. And then you clean it and you return the guts back into the river for the fish. Ali Loggins. Yeah, I was going to ask the question, but it's right there, so there's a cheat sheet right there. There's a reason why we put the fish a certain way in upriver in the smokehouse. There's all these beliefs and values of the spiritual side of things and why we do it. There's a reason. So the fish will return every year. Wilpsahon, the big smokehouse where a lot of our activities take place. L is half smoked, and then all the hooks. Got. Smokehouse filled with fish. There's some white springs there, and Brian must be telling Ruby to hurry up here. Wilsa is what I call this place. Another place where a lot of activity takes place behind the fire pit is where we do all our cooking and cleaning and filling jars, that sort of thing. So that's another busy spot. Oh. So I'll just go through the pictures really quickly here, what some of the activities with the kids. Net hanging and mending and filling jars with Jeet Shirley. All the kids are learning. So we try to keep them involved with each activity. The few beating. See, I just learned that word too. Yaoksna. So they do their chores. It teaches them work ethics. Ashkim, we didn't really go berry picking, but we got some Saskatoon from up top, and then Locks and Hun, like I said earlier. What does it mean again, Kayla? Locks and Hun?
I'm going to check the nets.
Nay, Locks, you cheated earlier, so now, okay, I got it. Thought you were the smarty pants in the room here. Locks and Hun is you soak the fish for half a day, or either overnight if you caught it the night before, or for about 4 hours. And it does what? Very good. You people passed that one. So thimbleberries, plenty of thimbleberries there, and I got this word wrong my last presentation and the elders corrected me. I put Nasik. What is Nasik? Raspberries, raspberries. And so I got them mixed up. So Nisqop is thimbleberries. And these young girls are busy cleaning their Gim Saskatoon berries. Go. We have guest speakers. Magid Meli came to speak about their land use plan, and then these guys are looking for Devil's Club. And this is all at camp. Like, it's amazing. We have the river, we have a sandy beach, we have a camp where we live, and then we have the forest, we have the rock. It's its own world. Go. this young girl here, she took over the flashcard session, and she was very strict. So she's pretty advanced because she goes to the immersion school, and she told the kids no fooling around, answer the questions. And of course, you know, the kids are playing by the river all day, every day. They just play. No iPads, no computers, no TV, no distractions. So there's a cedar workshop there and more filling jars. Yeah. Okay, I forgot to add the S to that word. Gathering sooks. Ulay with the sooks. Nay, tulak with the sooks. What sooks? Jim? Driftwood. Driftwood, yeah. So we use driftwood just for burning, and it creates a lot of smoke and it helps control mosquitoes. That's my own theory. I don't know. It works. Go. So can we all helping gather sooks? Go. Go. Our Samagit, these guys have attended camp 4 years in a row now, and they're right in there. 80, 83, and 82 years of age. And they clean fish. Same group of kids who were there in 2015. I wanted to show this 2018. There's only one boy missing there, but there's a new little boy. So we put them in the same order just to show. Go. Limch and Anuf. Limch is song, Anuf is drumming. So there's a he likes to sing and drum. Oh, not that much. Well, which means pass on the language. Everyone that has a language knows where their language continuum is. It's our Guelphians. It's our responsibility. That's where they belong, that's where they come from, that's where their Adawa is, the history. It's where their culture, their language, their spirituality is. That's the real meaning of language. It inspires confidence when we use it. We feel it. We feel different when we speak our language. It's coming from here. Important to speak Gitxsan Yitz language. We understand each other. It's our tongue what makes us unique. So we've been, like I said, I belong to this group. We don't have a name, but it's the 10-year plan group. We've gotten together, we're doing a plan to present to the government, and we're going to be in charge of our language revitalization plan for the next 10 years. So we've been holding meetings, feasts, events with our Simgigit, our people in the West. And we held one 2 nights ago, so that's me doing a presentation about, like I did a report because we were funded from First Peoples just to hold a 2-day event. So what I said there is Gitxsan, we're awakening our language and we're planning. It's there. That's our poster. No. We're going to plan to pass on our Samalgach, and we're going to discuss our oath. So we got 90% of our syndicate from 3 communities signed up. They signed an ES, which is a promise that they'll support our language 10-year plan. And the purpose is to preserve our language, collaborate with all the partners in all the communities. There's education, health, and of course we need the financial resources to do this. Yeah, and this morning I tried to think of how to say our vision statement. Yeah, and means we see the future, what's coming. A strong community of Gitxsan language speakers who are deeply rooted in Gitxsan values. 2020, my goal, more fluent speakers, more people who understand, more learning speakers, and the ones that don't understand, it's still high, but it's decreasing. So we're reversing that first graph. So we've set a goal that we're going to increase our speakers by 200% in a couple of years. So that's 30%, I think, speakers. And this is our ultimate goal. We will do this. So more speakers, 90, just like when I was growing up in Gitneo, 90% of us spoke, none of us spoke English. So now we're going to reverse those numbers. Go. Dem Lapine Dilch inamet Lahagilon, Haotzok ang Suwampon, Skayan, 1945 to 2007. That was my mom. She always told me when I'd be called up to speak, you use the tongue that God gave you, do not speak English. So she had that pressure on me back then. And this is me. This is the strength of the Gitxsan. Diane, me. Just information about where to contact me and acknowledging First Peoples for sponsoring camp. Not every year. I'm not always successful with my proposals, but a lot of times, so I needed to acknowledge First Peoples. So, I went to a symposium last week here in Gitxsan. It was great, well attended. We all did presentations and the little kids marched in. Must have been about 20 of these little guys, all the same size, and they sang about 4 songs to us. So I just wanted to end with that. It's about the kids. Watch this little guy. He ended up yawning. So cute. Started singing with his mouth open. He ended up coming up with a yawn. I want to end with one of my friends from Kispioks. Her little granddaughter came home and told her, I have to use this word all day, Mom. I have to use the Gitxsan word. If I don't use this word, our language will be stinked. Pretty cute. Oh, merci, Nissa.
Thank you very much. And Skyen, when she mentioned that word, suks, why does that sound familiar? Well, it is my very first name as a child. It was Lachsuks. So it's a little different. what I forgot to ask or let you know earlier, if you have questions, we're creating a parking lot. There's post-its, or what do you call it, little thingies on the table there. And then we have a board in the back, you can stick them on there. So that'll be information for you next. And the next presenter we have is Gitxsan, Gordon Sebastian.
Good morning. So you get to be just before lunch. So I'm going to really try to keep your attention because you're going to be battling. So you see, this is a village in Gitxsan, down the highway, 1899. Nice, warm, comfortable place to live. Total poles, transportation, lots of fish in the river. I'm not sure which to push here. Okay, good, thank you. And this is the land tenure you've heard about. Each area is a lahip of the wilt. We need permission. Lutkajius is here. If I go over the boundary, to go into the next territory, I need to have permission. Likewise, they can't come onto our side unless there's an arrangement. So I'll be talking about implementing Indigenous government, the Gitxsan government that we've had for 10,000 years, we still have. The Gitxsan are the, quote, you hear the government talking about the Indigenous, and you'll see that the Gitxsan are very willing by our history and what we've done. So Gitxsan, looking at what the government has been doing. In 1867, there was the Constitution, when the English and the French started to organize Canada. And today we find out in 1846 that the Gitxsan have an organized society. We have our laws, our language, our boundaries, but it's missing. In 1982, we got a little. The government repatriated the Constitution and stuck in Section 35. It said the existing Aboriginal and treaty rights of the Aboriginal people in Canada are hereby recognized and affirmed. So before treaty, groups never had rights, and the Aboriginal rights are not defined in Canada. It's like, so when you come to us and you say, we want to find out your interest in the land, we want to find out your Aboriginal rights, when you know that your letter coming to us in a few weeks is going to say, we're not aware of any Aboriginal rights, because your lawyers told you that. So it's undefined. And then the Constitution set out section 9124, Indians and lands reserved for Indians. That's the Gitxsan. Indians includes Gitxsan. We have reserve boundaries. On the reserve, I don't believe any of you here have been on the reserve, except our people. That boundary really is a line of privilege. On the outside of the reserve, we have people that have various privileges to live in Canada. And on the reserve, we have privileged people as well, that are commercial fishermen, loggers, and they do quite well. They run our communities, and we don't want to let go of our privileges on our reserve. And then we have a majority of our people that, just like off reserve, a little underprivileged. So the Indian Act, before 1951, there's 2, 3, or 4 Indian Acts from 1867 on to 1951. And the Indian Act provided that the Indians could not hire lawyers on land matters, and we could not meet about land matters. So we couldn't get together like this. Previous to 1951, this will be an illegal gathering. If there's, so you see how we really go crazy gathering now. We have bingos just about every night. We could have bingos twice a day. The other thing that our people used to do when they met, and it also banned the feasting. So when we met and we had covered our windows like we did in Kissagass in the 30s and the 40s, and when the Indian agent or a church minister would be coming into the area, they would break into a song of, I forget, some onward Christian soldiers or something like that. I can't remember the name, but that was one of the songs that they would break into so that the Indian agent would think they're just having church. Our wills today still have to be approved in Ottawa if we do a will on a reserve. And that's really tells you what situation is on the reserve. And because we're just uneducated, we're not assimilated, the Indian Act allows a non-Indian person to be a chief. And you've seen that in various reserves in BC. Canada dealing with the Indigenous people, the criminal code, it's supposed to say criminal code, not law. And it banned feasting. If we had a feast, which you hear from the group is very important to our people, if we were caught feasting, we broke the law and we were charged. And some have gone to jail, doing something that's very important to us. Our land transfers, our transfers of responsibilities, and that was outlawed. In 1932, it's the last record of 5 chiefs being charged and going to trial and going to jail. And you can imagine that the Indian Act said we couldn't have a lawyer, so we're in court without a lawyer as well. We're willing people. In 1972, our band councils, we created the Gitxsan Carrier Tribal Council. In 1975, DFO and the RCMP charged 25 chiefs We didn't have fishing permits, charged us with assault and resisting arrest. I was a native court worker at that time, and we were going crazy. The chiefs just couldn't believe. An example is Gitxsan. There was about 14 fishery officers and 6 RCMP that decided to go in to raid the fish camp. And when they went down into the fish camp, like the one you saw at in Skyan's picture, there's another fish camp, and they would go in there and scare the old folks, scare the kids with their guns. They come in with their motorboats. They have 2 motorboats that come in. DFO, they were quite the SWAT team in 1975. And you see some of that still today. In 1977, when the chiefs got charged, they decided, well, there's something wrong with the situation here. We should not be treated that way. So they did a declaration of our territory on that map that you saw. In 1982, the Gitxsan filed a writ and sued BC and Canada for ownership and jurisdiction. When the Gitxsan filed that writ and hit the news, the rest of the First Nations people in BC got angry with us. Didn't want anything to do with the Gitxsan. You're crazy. We're going to lose everything now. You're going to lose our medical, our education. They're going to kick us off the reserves. If you're a Gitxsan walking the streets in Vancouver, you have to be really careful. In 1982, we repatriated the Constitution and negotiated Section 35, which is basically an empty constitutional right. In 1984, we started the trial, and we created the Chiefs Advisory Team, the CATS, and they became the directors of the Gitxsan Treaty Society. The Gitxsan litigation team, which were similar, they had to raise the money. When the trial was moved out of Smithers, they had to arrange transportation vehicles to transport our witnesses and our supporters and people from here down into Vancouver, and then we had to find hotels and things like that. And remember that during that trial, we were alone because the other First Nations thought we were crazy, that we were stirring the pot, we were bringing attention to ourselves. So those costs were borne strictly by the Gitxsan people. And then we had the United Church, and we had other people. A lot of non-Indian people supported us. We had a lot of money came in from non-Indian people. So the new thing of UNDRIP, we like that word, UNDRIP. When you come and you consult with us and you say, what's your interest? We want to get some logs now. And Kevin will say, UNDRIP. I hope he says. Indigenous peoples, in exercising their right to self-determination, have the right to autonomy or self-government in matters relating to the internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means for financing their autonomous functions. Pretty nice. States shall give legal recognition and protection to these lands, territories, and resources. Such recognition shall be conducted with due respect to the customs, traditions, and land tenure systems of the Indigenous peoples concerned. Right there, you talked about the Gitxsan. And the Gitxsan territory has not changed since pre-1846. We have neighbors that have come onto our territories. We have the Gitxsan, Gitxsan, Nishka, Talpan, Cascade Dene, Shake Dene, carriers. Whoops. You see our homes, and the poles, this was all, we had no power saws. We had ways of making our figures and forms on the poles. Our homes, you see the step going up. So we had floors. Floors were not a new thing. So it was something that our people built way back. No highways, no railways, mostly brought in by the river. And here's Canada's own principle. For, you taxpayers should be aware of this, the Government of Canada recognizes the Indigenous self-government is part of Canada's evolving system of cooperative federalism and distinct orders of government. Quebec disagrees with that. They think there should not be a distinct order of government with the Aboriginal people. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. I'm trying to build your appetite up that way, so I'm getting you to read all this boring stuff. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression, to freedom of peaceful assembly and association, and to take part in the government, directly or through freely chosen representatives. And that's the accepted definition of democracy. In negotiations with Canada and BC, they say, hereditary system, it's not democratic. We fit that definition. They've backed off on that. The Gitxsan government. Woo, I'm going to speed up here. The Gitxsan government is a family responsibility with strong bloodlines.
You don't have to.
No? Okay. The WILP is made up, thank Brian, the WILP is made up of more than one family. This year, keep this in mind when we get to the last slide. The Gitxsan government is strengthened by the number of Will Nadat in the WILP. That's different families. So over the years, our close cousins, say back 100 years from now, that lineage now is, they're further away from us. And they could be in another WILP. What makes WILP a government entity? There's clear rules on membership. You're born to a Gitxsan mom, and that's no doubt that you belong. Clear rules on the authority and responsibility. You see the boundaries, the map, how we're all set up. We just can't go wherever we please on our territory. We're bound by the yoke. We follow the law. There's clear designation of the Lahip boundaries governed by the WILP. We know, you hear some comment this morning about people not aware of their boundaries. We've sort of slacked off a little bit between ourselves. Saturday morning you see people hunting on our territory where they shouldn't be unless there's an arrangement. And arrangements includes marriages and all that sort of stuff. An adjudicatory adjudicatory process to resolve disputes between members and government on the foundation of the IO. It's 1867, and you'll see that Gitxsan have been a willing people. What we've been doing, try and have some sort of relationship with the government and with Canada's citizens. You'll see on each of that the protection of the individual rights. As soon as you're born, you belong to an area. You have access to resources. You're covered. You don't have to get a permit. You don't have to go and get permission from the government. You're born right into the Gitxsan government. The assets of the will, membership through bloodlines, the land tenure, fisheries tenure, resources including food and water. Oh. Each person born into the wilderness inherits. You see what this child, not just the child. The child represents all of that when you look at her. And she also represents the continuation of the Gitxsan, because we're matrilineal. When the government was quite aware of who we are, so they would grab these children and put them in a residential school. We got them back. The natural leader is the Sigidamana, a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, depending if still alive. So you see the grandmother. Grandmother is very, very important. You see this woman and what she's represented ever since she was born. And that's my mom. Judas myself. The leader of the will is the Samogan. This position is inherited by a chosen successor based on lineage. So the bloodlines, Sigidamana, determine who that head chief is going to be. They watch. A lot of us are determined. We get crazy when we're teenagers. We do crazy things, so we lose that. And they're watching somebody else, and that's how we determine by Samogan. The successor, if you're going to be a Samogan, you got to pay to lead. So there are certain things that indicate your interest. You pay the primary cost of the funeral and the marker stone 1 year later. If any of the above are not met, the successor will have failed. So that's one way that the Samogan really has the authority. And if that Samogan has not done these things, there's words for it in the Gitxsan language like your uncle's feet are still sticking out of the grave, kind of thing. So the successor and his family or her family pay the primary cost of a feast, and the clan comes along and chips in, and they pay a smaller portion of the cost. So one feast, 10 to 15,000 for goods and food. Today, when we're having a feast, one feast, $10,000 to $15,000 goes into Smithers and in Terrace when we're having a feast. And you see us when we have a death. 10,000 to 15,000 goes into the expenses related to the costs. The expenses being the funeral and the cost of workers and gifts. And then about 10 to 15,000 is paid out into the feast according to rank. Since December 28th, we've had about 17 deaths. So we've had about 17 feasts. So you imagine how much money we put into Terrace and Smithers? That's from the Gitxsan people, from our chiefs and our clans. A lot of money has gone into Smithers and Terrace. And a lot of money has gone out into our community when we pay out according to rank in the feast. And these are all primary costs are by the Samogat. Not even the Pope does that. So our system, and if you don't do your job in this scenario, like what we've been in January, February, and March, you really stand out as a weak Samogat. And you see our chiefs, each of these processes here involved about 5 days of various protocols and procedures. So there are additional expenses to this. The decisions by the Samogat, general and everyday decisions are done solely by the Samogat. And other times, if the decision is unusual and may potentially alter the assets or a yoke, you include the Sigidamanach and family members. Three responsibilities of a Samogat: the Adaw, Willa, and the pole. We're a willing people. We did the map right here and what you've seen, and that's what you work off of. You advisors on the Aboriginal, your job description, and this is what you see in the map and what you work off. You see our governance under the Indian Act. In 1994, we switched to the Treaty Society. This is not a government. This is just an office of the hereditary chiefs. 1996, in our negotiations we started in 94, BC left the table because we wouldn't look at that land selection. Each lahib, we can't ask any chief to give up their lahib on the land selection. So BC left the table, said we're too far apart. '97 to 2000, we had bilateral negotiations, and all of those are stories unto themselves. 2000, trilateral negotiations with Canada and BC started up. 2003, we had the interim forest agreement, where the province has made commitments, and they've reneged on that agreement. This is agreement that's being broken by you folks today. Not by attending here. The short-term forest agreement, additionally, the province has reneged on some sections and some commitments as well on that. However, the watershed process is not in this situation by agreement, but it is something that appears to be working. And then we have the Gitxsan Development Corporation, We're building the economy from the ground up. Between Smithers and Terrace, no economy. All we have left in Hazelton and New Hazelton are Chinese restaurants. I'm not sure if you're going to get Chinese food today. And then we have the Gitxsan government, Gitxsan Gigane. In 2018, we started a tripartite work plan with Canada and BC because of UNDRIP. And then now we're in the process of developing a policy with Canada and BC, implementing Gitxsan government. So we're here to stay, and you will see us on the rivers this year, and eventually you will see us in the forest. We have a unique government based on our will. We have 14,000 people that are part of that government. The Gitxsan Huilp are strong, consolidated democracies. The Wilp protects the balance between the 14,000 members and the constitutional powers. We have to keep the balance between our people in Section 91, which is the criminal code, DFO, transportation, and 92, we have to protect and keep the balance between our people, our lahip, and fee simple. And that's what I mentioned, Indian Act, Criminal Code, and Fisheries Act, we have to keep the balance in there. And 92, the Land Act, and provincial fisheries permits. The interest of the Gitxsan is to be formally included and accommodated into the division of powers, 91 and 92. We're not trapped in our traditions. You'll see how we're starting to learn technology, and we're learning how to play the game. We have our own communications department. We have our Gitxsan Development Corporation dealing with our economy. So the Gitxsan government has made decisions. Closure of recreational fish for 2019. There'll be no trespassing. Your message today is that you will not be trespassing on the Gitxsan Anak. Wherever there's a fish gap, whether it has people there or not, you're not allowed to trespass this year if you're a recreational fisherman. In the Skeena watershed, there's popular unrest and popular mistrust over the increasing concentration of power in large fishing corporations and recreational fishing industry. And the DFO closed the fishing last season. Terrace was upset. He said they lost $25 million. The increasing 2 or 3 weeks. Concentration of power in large fishing corporations and recreational fishing industry. The DFO found a whole pile of fish on June 1st. And the DFO closed the fishing last season. The fishing industry was upset life out of the small men. He said, you see on the ocean, a lot of the Gitxsan people are commercial fishermen. You see what happened. I don't have to go through all of that. You see what happened there. And you see what's happening internally, inland, with the recreational fishing industry, where people have to sell fish hooks, they have to sell rooms. When they closed the, what's the river goes through Prince George?
Chaco or Fraser?
The Fraser River. They closed the Fraser River. All those fishermen came and camped around Terrace and all along the Skeena River. You You could see them about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was crazy. There's no restrooms there. They're all camped along there. They're garbage. It was, I don't know how the government allowed that to happen. So the Gitxsan have a reasonable approach to properly regulate recreational fishing. Fisheries management in Northwest BC has many achievements. We have the Gitxsan Watershed Authority. We have the Skeena Fish Commission. The Tyee test fisheries have provided fairly good estimates of some of the stocks. They don't deal with all the stocks. And that's where they found fish last June 1st and opened up recreational fishing. Gitxsan do not wish to discourage enterprise or destroy corporations. These should be at the service of all the people up here that live in the Northwest. Having said that, we must find out where the real abuses are, the causes of these abuses, and what remedies are possible. So we have to share our knowledge. And we heard DFO is going to be here, so we have our full publicity people. We'll have you on record and on TV. So we're anxious to hear what you have to say. We want to share your knowledge with the public, right from the horse's mouth. We have to open portions of the fishing industry and management to investigation for misrepresentation. Why the hell was the river closed in May and then opened on June 1st? What was the real reason? The recreational fishing industry, that was the reason. They didn't care about the fish or the Gitxsan fish tenure. Or concealment regarding material facts. What are the real facts regarding the stocks? Why is it that the Gitxsan have to sit back and wait for determination of allocation? Quota. And when the recreational fishing industry says, oh, we're losing our money, they open up the fishery. I don't know what the hell you're doing, Rick. We're getting close to lunch and you're not even making any soap berries yet.
Sir.
We have to reveal the corporate involvement in pricing. Our canned fish, that's Gitxsan fish from our fishing habitat, from our fishing tenure. What are they doing with pricing? And now they're storing all of this jarred fish and canned fish, and they're going to control the sale of that. And you're allowing it, DFO. You're allowing Patterson and all these people to store their fish and to control the market. There's unfair competition, unfair monopolies, and like I mentioned, hoarding fish in huge warehouses. We have to open up access to the Gitxsan fishery tenure through reserves. The Gitxsan Reserve does not allow some people to go to their fishing sites in Kissagass. I think they do now. But sometimes it's hard to get through a reserve. We have fee simple. Farmers do not allow our people to their enact where they've grown up as children for 10,000 years that they lived, and now this farmer has a piece of land and says, no, you cannot pass through our fee simple. And rights of ways. The railroad and highway has destroyed many of our fishing sites. So you get here and you talk about allocating the Gitxsan fish. How do you match that? And the quota, the fishing quota, how do you match that with the Gitxsan fisheries tenure? When there's all this prevention. So that's the Gitxsan government. From the moment that we're born, we're in the government. I'm sick of enough. And the chief. That's a Laskeet chief. Amen. 20 minutes over time. Sorry, Brian.
Thank you, Lucas, for Sebastian. And so now we're going to take a bit of a break, give you a rest, stretch, and have some lunch. Lunch is ready. Before we get into lunch, I'll ask Simone Guisex to bless the food for us. And to make your ways up here. The lunch is going to be in the next room there. So get up and when prayer is done, and you can just go in there. So we can east, it equate to approximately $750,000 expended in 1.5 by the Gitxsan people. And half of that, more of that, has gone to Swedish affairs. So 1 year from now, will be another $750,000 expended. You can almost bank on it. And it's not going to change. It's just not going to differ because it is our law. It is our law. This is what we do. This is the teachings that I received from my former predecessor, the former Guiad, and especially from my mom, who instilled it in me as I was growing up. Yes, we had our tea bears. Yes, we were dissuaded. In other words, having fun. But at the end of the day, we have the work that we need to do. We continually do it. So, in Gitxsan 101, we touched on a little bit here, a little bit there. So we're going to do slide 1, or maybe 2. No. Oh yeah, go back 1. Okay, right there. So, if you look on this slide, you'll note there's the top on the yellow one and the highlighted, and you look at each of the different groups of writing. All of them are very significant to our qualifications. So we call this, we said 201 is the next session, and there's reference to it. However, people haven't even begun to touch 101. So we decided to call this 101B. And we called it volcanoes, the very first part of the diagram. Each will Gitxsan has its treasures, its inherency, assets that are tangible and intangible, handed on from generation to generation, and within perpetuity, never extinguished. Assets includes its Mulala, whose relatives, the Hippolyte lands and resources therein, Agao, ancient oral history, yoke laws that dictate behavior, employ time, immemorial songs that link the group to its Lahip, Kapanta, ancient village, seat names, look, essence, and identity derived from the volcanoes. Everything is always linked back to volcanoes, our history. We base everything on our history. So we look at our lucky 33,000 square kilometers. Maybe I was too young when they made this division into watersheds, but they're here anyway. So each of those color-coded areas has a number of city chiefs who manage that area. Lose to see manifest within 33,000 square kilometers of Gitxsan traditional Lahip. Will, essence, and identity derives from volcanoes. In other words, this is who we are. And we'll keep saying that. You heard the speakers earlier keep talking about volcanoes. You will hear in meetings that you have with the chiefs in consultation meetings. Volcanoes, it was known, that's where we come from. Next. So quite a few years ago, Gitxsan was formed. Decided to provide the yet non-Gitxsan people songs that belong to house groups where we ask permission to sing these songs, we ask permission to dance. As was articulated earlier about the Lahip, you have to ask permission to go from one Lahip to another. You can't just cross. I'll stop with this moment and I'll ask Melissa, you will do the next few slides.
Okay, good afternoon. For those of you who know me, I was absent this morning. My name is Bill Blackwater Jr. I'm the Hiscock Watershed Facilitator. And my Gitxsan name is Wes, Hereditary Chief at House. And I've been facilitator here for the last 2 years for Gitxsan watershed, the pilot project and the SCA this year. So with that little brief introduction, one part of this, I wasn't always head chief. I was chief on the right side of Uncle for the longest time. 46 years I haven't got the name before I was. So, which might lead into what we'll be going to next. So, right now we're going into the part of all hands where each Gitxsan group has its treasures, its inheritance, assets that are tangible and intangible, handed down from generation to generation, held in perpetuity and never extinguished. Today I was going to show you an example of an intangible asset, but I thought it might not do it justice because I need to show you the whole thing. And this, what I wanted to show you today was called Olio Hype, which belongs to Sinola from Woods Yellow. It is a little ugly. It's a fun. The reason why I wanted to show it to you guys today is because it's a fun thing to do just to welcome people to an event. And I'll just briefly explain what happens there is there'll be a singing, drumming, and then the owner will come in and catch the spirit, bring it in, and we'll have 2 or 3 designated people standing in a room here. We'll throw the spirit to, and when the person catches the spirit, they'll each do their thing and eat an hour on the sign to maybe half the table and have you set up and have to imitate what the person is, whoever's holding the spirit is doing. So it's just a fun thing to do. It's something new all the time. It's not something it's never the same. It's always different. It's to promote laughter and it's just one of them. So, but the other assets that are tangible, that are resources, which which Lloyd is 100% responsible to make sure that the woman of that has access to all resources on their life, whether it be salmon, trees, fur bears, meat, and which one of that is a family. One of that has to do with that family, the lands and resources, and I know you have some out here, but when I was growing up, I called it a shaman, because back then, in the ancient history, we did not have fishing nets. That means net. Back then, before I had it anyway, I'm not that old, we used fishing weirs and the traps to get our salmon. And there were specific sites on each slaughter, so I'll get to go over that. And then there's an L, ancient oral history. It's a bit more than that. It's not just oral history, it's an oral tradition. It's a tradition that's carried on for hundreds of thousands of years. Never changes. It's just, even though it's not written, the history is passed on word for word, which is repeated on an annual basis. I was fortunate enough to hear mine when I was younger, and I'm still trying to pass it on to other people in our house. And loss of dictate behavior. There are lots of deal in the Gitxsan. I'll just give you a couple for examples. There's a very important one, which is that is when you intermarry in your same clan. One of our laws specifically says that if you're a Lascelles, you do not marry another Lascelles. You go to Lascelles, Gitxsan. If you become that, you have no rights to become a chief or wear a blanket. And then there's one of the assets says the boy and the Sanach. There's just to give you two examples here. There are a lot of songs in our in the Gitxsan nation. Just like the one I was just going to show you here, the McClungans. Well, this also has some McClungans. Sometimes we can be strict about it, and sometimes we just let it lie. Probably not time to bring it up, but a few years ago I was watching a video of some people coming down to see them being welcomed, and I heard the national funds being used. Oh my goodness, what's going on here? There's no recognition given to them, to the House of Us. So whoever did the video didn't do the research, so remember that, do your research when you do a video. And John, what everybody calls the totem poles now, that's one of our biggest assets. It depicts each figure on your stand. It depicts each specific region in your hip. It tells the story. You can go up to the totem pole and read this chief's history of how his Lahib came to be his Lahib. And the chief's blanket, which is also the most important thing. You'll see his crest on his blanket. And it's usually, the crest that you see on the chief's blanket is usually the figure on the bottom of the totem pole. Which is the figure you see in the bottom of every stand. It's the most important figure there is in the Lahib's history. So, you guys have no wrong when I hear you guys saying, who was asking about that, and I'm the lower man at the totem pole. You guys are wrong on that. When you say that, you're the most important person in the organization. And then there's one, too. That's when you receive your chief's name, and that guarantees your entry into any living. That's a guarantee. So that the other chiefs will know who we are and who we are representing. And every time there's living for whatever reason, and we have living for a lot of things. There's death, there's a change of names, there's the big one, Steve. We don't get that in Gitxsan 102.Z. And that's just a couple of examples. And then there's a couple of it's a designated seat. Any living there is. Moss has a seat at every living he attends. No one can be put there. Even if I don't show up, that seat remains empty.
we some London Kalida. I will tell him if I talk too long, he can throw me off my chair. Okay, slide 7. Before the child is born, the child belongs. A new Gitxsan life is literally born into a richness and abundance that can only be Gitxsan, predestined in accordance with its ancient Gitxsan inherency. A Gitxsan mother gives birth to a Gitxsan child, and before the child is born, they are alusi. They have an identity. The child belongs and will be born into richness and abundance. From the womb, they are siganos. They are being taught. They hear their nok, their mother, and will laugh, singing Gitxsan baby songs. Is one I remember. The mother would chew the food for the baby that creates an unbreakable bond between mother and child. As they grow, the child is taught our laws that dictate their behavior from their mother, no, their nagot, their father, their teats, their grandmother, their grandfather. And they hear the songs, the Limpoy, the Sanaf, our Haitian songs, Limpoy memorial songs, Limp Sanaf, our breath songs, and Limp our spirit songs. The child's will their family, their extended family, use their yuskum by walking softly and talking softly while teaching the child. We have our children on our backs while we while we're cutting our fish, we have them on our backs. I remember one of my nieces, we had her on her back while we were at the smokehouse, and they were cutting fish. And she was just a wee baby. And when she got older, she came to the smokehouse and she wanted to wash fish, and she cleaned fish, and she wasn't very old, but it was because she had seen it and she felt the togetherness at the smokehouses. Where all the teachings happened while they were smoking fish, and the grandparents and extended family were there talking to them all the time and watching them. As our children grow, they remember the teachings and they wash and clean fish at the smokehouse. The child feels and knows everyone is his or her family. It's a feeling. They're safe in their homes. The cradles, the cedar cradles that they used to have in the trees outside the smokehouses. And they'd give the baby a push, and the baby would hear everything that was going on, and they'd hear their Slide number 8. The child will be groomed and protected by both the maternal and paternal families. Childbearing is in accordance to particular volumes. The child will be used and groomed by talking and walking softly, and haloms, protected by the maternal and paternal families. The child's otsin, their spirit, is nurtured to ensure the child's essence, identity, personality, character, and domain, their Gitxsan identity, are shaped, defined, and refined according to a specific volumes. Even fried bread has a significant role in our culture, and this story has a message for children to build up their spirits, but that will be for another Gitxsan 1-something. Otsin. Everything in the world has life energy. Otsin is a key concept of Gitxsan spirituality described as one spirit. One's Otsin can be harmed, depleted, or scared away by trauma. Indian residential school, child apprehension, 60s scoop are considered a societal harm in the Gitxsan perspective because not one woman or will select their families escape the trauma of having children taken from their family. Trauma was caused to our children's autism by placing them with strangers away from their communities and the land, where they have no sense of belonging through the Gitxsan teaching yellows. They live in foster homes until they age out. They don't know who their families are because they aren't brought home or where their family is. These children end up on the streets or abusing drugs, and many have come home in a box. And we'll never catch up. We'll never catch up with that. Finding our people that we can't reach their autism anymore. It's gone. In our culture, if we cause harm or death to someone, we have a peace feast, so there is no retaliation. And the family whose member was caused harm will receive gifts and compensation, and after the feast is done, no one speaks of it again. There is peace. Number 9, the Samogat and the Sigidamanap of the Wolf are very watchful. A few are singled out for more intense, deliberate shaping, reserved for candidates likely to inherit the title, status, and associated power, responsibility, and burden of being a Samogat. The Samogat and the Sigidamanap of the Wolf are ever watchful. The Samogat and the Sigidamanap of the Wolf, the house, are watchful over the Wilsons, who are the prince and princesses, based on their Yatus teachings from their Nok, their mother's side, Nabot, their father's side, their Deets, and their Yet. And few are chosen for more intense, deliberate, youthful grooming for a prince or a princess likely to inherit title, status, and associated power, and responsibility of being a Samogat. If a child's mother happens to pass away, the the grandmother and the grandfather step in and raise the child. If no living grandparents, then the Dista and the Dista and the Bip, their aunties and uncles step in to look after the children so their autism's not broken. 10, the preparedness of the wolf comes to the forefront at the death of their Samogat, the ancient script of bestowing the chief in waiting or selecting one of the candidates to inherit the Afanda. The preparedness of the wolf comes to the forefront at the death of their Samogat. The years of Yatus and youth carries out our ancient traditions in bestowing this chosen one, grew from birth to be the successor to the chief's name and a chief's designated seat that no one but that chief sits in at any time. These are firm seats for chiefs in the hula, their blanket. 1, 2 are entry seats to the Lilliput, where you have a seat, but it's not a specific designated seat. You sit wherever they seat you. The grooming happens right from childhood when the Samogat are watching. As a child, they sit at the feet of their mother at the Lilliput feast, and this is part of their grooming. The Samogat is responsible for decision making within the house, with the house members. When they sit down and discuss the decisions to be made until all their hearts are satisfied. At 11, the new Samogat follows the Gitxsan yoke by respecting the 1-year period for grieving. Upon the 1-year completion, the Samogat will place a grave marker for the Samogat that passed and host a feast. When the Samogat passes away, up and down the designated seat of the chief, name and the hula blanket is placed on the new successor of the chief. Name and honors the Gitxsan yoke by close, respecting the 1-year period of mourning. After 1 year, the new Samogat completes its responsibilities by having a stone raising and building a stone feast. for the smoke that has passed the year before. The Stone Feast is fun, where the host clan sings their welcome song and dance for the guests. They take the successor of the chief's name around the hall for the other clan chiefs to do their nok-nok, which causes much laughter by the guests. They also do the Andamalak. That's when the host clan spouses dance up to their spouses and they put money in the pot to help out with the expenses. 12. Upon the completion of the Lilligit, the new Samogit will then assume full responsibility and authority of the Apanda and all that it entails. And the caretaking of the land and the resources are not here. Our Guardians goes on immemorial. And up and down, these are designated seats for meeting chiefs with Ula of Blanket. Our Guardians is ancient and been in existence for thousands and thousands of years and will be for thousands and thousands more. Gabi.
All right, talk about pressure. I'm gonna talk about the smokers, and I guess you can. Well, there's 8 smokers in here. I'm gonna describe 8 or 9. So. And then probably from the ministry point of view, these are who you're going to sit down with and who you can discuss the decision with. So hopefully I can convey the importance of some of it. I'll probably be looking for a bit of advice through this. First I gotta qualify this. Like, I know the idea. Like the Gitxsan will use the term chief and Samoan kind of interchangeably, and probably because we know what a Samoan is, right? And it's easier to convey chief to different people than it is to just say Samoan all the time. But I know there's the Western idea of what a chief is, and doesn't necessarily fall into the alignment of what a Samoan is. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there before I started. The head chief is the Nibble. The head chief is the highest ranked person in the world. So, well, like I said, he's the one, or he or she is the one that you're going to be dealing with, sitting down, consulting with, making decisions. Normally, the Samoan has 2 kind of right-hand Samoans with them. And we've had a discussion around this term. It's so there you go. That's my sweet so basically, those are the eyes and ears of the Samoan, and kind of helps him with some of the main responsibilities of the house. The which is basically the genealogy and the center of the pulse of the will, and has a strong influence on decisions made for the will. And I know in one of the emails that went around, there was a discussion on, or a question on how these decisions are made. So basically, hopefully I can kind of piece it together through this. Matriarchs play a big part in nurturing the yelks of the children as they grow their essence, identity, personality, character, and being. The main responsibilities of the Samoan is to keep his will strong and together, take care of the Lakip and the resources. The Samoan gives advice on all important decisions and consults with his house members for advice and guidance prior to making a decision. A chief, Samoan, does not make decisions all on his own. So, we'll go to the next slide. So managing resources on the boat. So fishing, hunting, trapping, these are all kind of fall within the responsibility of this Logan. Basically, yes, know about all these. And to add on to that, now we're talking to resource extraction, right? So basically, you're looking at an all-knowing, all-being person that is expected to know all the answers on this territory. Making sure that all the laws are followed on the territory. That if there is animals or resource extraction, that everything is used. And so a lot of these resources are we benefit from the resources on our territory, and is our handful, which is our table. Basically, we get what we need off our territories and use it to survive. The Slogan is the caretaker of the territory and all resources, and is responsible for ensuring the real property, title, and other rights are respected by other chiefs and the proponents. Other chiefs and proponents are required to ask permission from the chief to access or trespass, or they would be a trespass on the Willow territory. The Slogan can only speak on his Willow territory. The Slogan's House members have a responsibility to behave according to our youth, and the membership, adoption, marriage, property, use of the resources on the territory, and their conduct in and out on the peace hall. House members cannot bring other non-house members onto the Willow territory without asking the chief's permission, and let it be known to the purpose be known. Willow members must ensure they do not put guilt or embarrassment on the Willow by their conduct. And just to add a few little statements from what, like, I can only speak for what I know about being a chief, right? And it's hard for me to, like I said, I mentioned that there was 8 Sloans in there. And it's, you know, as we're growing up, we're not groomed to speak or speak about or speak above a Sloan. So there's pressures on a facilitator in that regards on different tables. You know, I've noticed in different meetings where you kind of get that look from the other side of the table, saying, "Could we, put a little cap on this or whatever?" But it's not my place. I brought them there. They speak for themselves, and it's not my place to put them in line. So the other one would be, I've heard a couple times that we're born into it, and that's not necessarily the case. Like, I'm standing here in front of my green head, and he shares the name with my brother.
I'm trying to get shots.
Monty, Monty's younger than I am, and when my uncle passed away 2 years ago, he sat me down at the table because, you know, I'm oldest figure or whatever and stuff like that. He sat me down at the table and said, Monty's in a better place in his life right now, you know. He's married. My uncle was very impressed with how Monty carried himself, and I just moved back waiting around, and he made the decision to sit down with me and tell me that I wasn't ready. And I said, yeah, fine, that's your decision. And I respected it. And, you know, it's one of those things that some people do think you're born into, but, you know, it was my uncle's decision that I wasn't ready. So I have to respect that decision. And, you know, with my brother, I fully support it. You know, at the time, he was the better choice. I don't know. Like, that's my feeling. You know, I think you start getting this idea that it's inherent, that you're right to be a smoker, that you're born into it, but that's not the case. And I think it's been echoed out through here that, you know, you have to get to that point where you have that thick skin, where you're not reacting, where you're actually, it's purposeful, and there's a process to it, and how you deal with things and how you carry yourself, right? So it's one of the things that I admire. Like, I sit on the table where I have the opportunity, and there's different times throughout the week where I sit down with some hosts and listen to them talk, and it's some of the most interesting and some of the most powerful lessons in life that you can get, right? And it's, to me, it's like I said, it's so, it carries me through the week sometimes. I sit down and just have like a uncoordinated discussion with somebody. You know, some of the things that you hear on the table are just a few of the kind of information gems that they'll share with you. People love that trust where you can sit down and learn from them. Is, for me, one of the benefits that I have out of this scout. So we'll leave that. Thank you. Oh, did you guys ask this?
Okay, if one wanted to go on someone's heap to access resources, you ask for permission. Okay, that sounds very simple. Chief doesn't holler out, hey, wait, you can keep them cook, stuff like that. I have to set up a meeting. I either go there myself, or I send a house member and to set up a meeting to go and ask for permission to extract certain resources from the chiefs, from smugglers like him. And it could be a very pleasant event. There will be food flowing along. There should be plenty of food there, because before you discuss any sort of business, you also have to eat, you need to eat. And so it's just let you know that it's, you know, this whole road says, I head on your land, and that's it. And if he or she was caught on a hip after being denied permission back in the old days, historically, if he was caught on a chief on hip without permission, he would be killed for trespass. That is totally true, and I heard a lot of stories about it growing up. But that's only when you are denied permission to be under the hip. It's not when you're accidentally on there. And it wasn't taken very lightly at all. I mean, you know, it's very everything can be taken in someone's life, but if it has to be done, it will be done. Okay, today the access laws remain the same, except for the killing part, because we've been denying access for years now to a lot of certain people to our hip. But I'm not saying it's not going to remain that. I mean, you know, there are, who knows, future chiefs may be different from chiefs that we sit in front of you today. But anyways, the laws are going to remain the same, or it's not going to change. But you need to ask permission, not just a fellow Gitxsan, but anyone who wants to go under the hip, because maybe we'd be given permission if you provide some sort of I don't know, some economic benefits, or something that would benefit the whole widow, not just the exploiter, but the widow. If you could do that, then it would be fine. Okay, if anyone wants to go through territory access resource permission, must be granted from smoke to use a steward of the market. Okay, we went through that before, and you need to have access granted by this smoke at the meeting that was set up between the person who wants the person or the persons who want to access it on it for any resource, whether it be for food or other resources like wood or salmon. And if the Sheboygan grants access, he will send one of the little members to go along as an escort, and as a representative for Sheboygan. Yes, he will send someone, but it's only to monitor, people who are granted access, see if they are going by the stipulations that was given by the chief for access to our ship. But it doesn't mean that it's all set in stone. If you're low on food and you need something to eat, maybe you would take a couple of rabbits. But in doing so, even though you didn't get permission to get that rabbit, you save the fur, the rabbit fur, dry it, and bring it out to you. And bring it over to the slugs who's on Hughes' info. No, slug, this is yours. I know I didn't have permission for it, but this is yours. I'll give it to you now. I had to take it because I wanted to eat. Okay, next slide. Okay, that's it for me. Just
Som Gitxsan sinua ulsu. Staat i hovet låsamas. Oma satun. Unasun wantem. I am so happy that we have had this opportunity to sit together today. Today you experienced and saw and heard about our structured society as Gitxsan people. The authority of the blanket, the we only touch the surface of our complex society as Gitxsan people. You heard a little bit about how a child was taught even while in the womb. We heard how our feast systems are designed and structured. One of the things that happens to us as Gitxsan people is we learn from the time we're in the womb to the time you get to the point where I am. I'm still learning. I learned a lot from what I heard today. I want to say thank you to the ones that presented. And I wanted to say to the people that are here today, I hope you learned something from us today. See how we're structured, how we're organized, and why we have why we have authority over our livelihood. At one point in the past, I said we have ownership jurisdiction over our Lahip. It was before contact, it is today, and it'll always be that way. And this is one of the first few gatherings that we're going to have with the Crown, where we're going to learn from one another. And as I said earlier, there are some things that we say that we may not, people may not appreciate, but it has to happen. So there's better understanding. I talked a little bit about my grandson. I'm trying to teach him. And that's what our society is all about. I don't know how many other meetings are going to happen after this, but I pray that we continue to learn from one another and have better understanding of one another. We own our Lahip. We owned it before contact. We own it today. And we will always own that 33,000 square kilometers of land. It's Gitxsan Lahip. Lord Sinison. Lord Sinison. I want to say thank you for you being here and hearing us, presenting who we are. Oh, yeah.
As quiet as always I've ever heard in my whole life. Come on, is that all you got? There we go. Sinabigat, sige mana, tuwas, ladies and gentlemen, and those younger than me, that we've sort of referred to as kaboos, the ones that are up and coming. So I just wanted to say that this took a lot of work to try and find a small part of the Gitxsan that we could share with the rest of the country. When I say the rest of the country, I'm looking between Fort St. James and Victoria. It's how far some of the people have come to take part in the Gitxsan 101B. The message that we want you to see, well, in my point of view, is that we are consistent. Our language is everything. It is our power, and especially our Guatemalans, our history, our Adao, our Wula, our Yo. All of those are intrinsic parts of who the Gitxsan are. What we have encountered, what we will continue to encounter, relationships that we will continue to try and build. The Sinigat, the Smogits, we bring to the table, have the knowledge, have the history. We're also very, very grateful to have Cheyenne share with us her story on her and that. At this point, we would like to acknowledge the people that have come. We want to acknowledge Iskaha, I shared with Leonard Canoe earlier my apologies for not acknowledging our neighbor. He said it's okay. I don't think it's okay. And I share with you today that he's our neighbor, and we're all working in the same capacity. Indigenous nations. I want to ask a couple of people for their remarks before we close. The first person I'd like to ask is Leonard Canoe for his remarks on today's events, on what we have accomplished today.
Sendiga, Segaramana, Kogulsa, Hanis, Kubaki, Chiefs, Majors, honored guests. I'd like to thank Gitxsan for the presentation. As you can see, this is just the tip of the iceberg to all the people that have taken this. There's more to learn. The more you learn, the more you understand where they are coming from and what they want to accomplish in their lands. And I take it on each one of us here that has come to listen, to take it a bit further, do your own homework, find out more. Then you can come back to the table more prepared when you have to talk to the Gitxsan or any other nation. It's all a part of understanding where First Nations people come from. Myself, I work for the federal government, but I'm Nishka, and that's what comes out of me first, is my Nishka heritage. So when I work, I think of that when I'm working, and I thank you for reminding me and teaching me again some of the little things about are you and where we come from and why we come from that area. These are important things for each one of us as government officials. You represent provincial government, federal government. You have to understand why they're there before you can start to say, well, we need to extract resources or whatever. And once again, I'd like to thank you very much for the presentation. I apologize I didn't get to the first one, but I'll try to make sure I get to the next one if there's another one. Thank you.
I would, Patty Hirschfield, ask your closing comments.
Thanks, Barry. It's an honor to be here today, and thank you for opening your doors. The Sinogit to Alexiup and to understand about your traditional territory, the Inats, the areas that you teach your children, language, and elements of your culture and history. We have a good cross-section of provincial ministries here, and I think the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, I was thinking about that before we came in, and call to action number 57 indicates that training for public servants is required, specifically around First Nations history and governance. And this, today, we're achieving that. But we can only do that with this welcome that we received today. So thank you very much. I do believe that this is the tip of the iceberg, but we are going to come away from here knowing more. And I want the sooner we get to know that there is a lot of interest in learning more from public servants, we could have easily had more people filling the seats here today. There was a tremendous amount of desire to learn. We're neighbors, and we're members of a public service, a government, and there's many intersections there, but please know that we're here to learn more, and I think this is a small step in that direction. It was a beautiful lunch today. Thank you for everyone who prepared it. It was delicious, and I even saw some people withholding so that the guests could have some of that salmon. I'd like to thank the organizers for today. It's been an honor.
All I can say.
All I can say.
All I can say.
All I can say is that we worked really hard to put this together for get the ministries and the department. We wanted to share with you who we are. We wanted to share with you why we are so tied to our Lakip. We wanted to share our strengths, what we have. You do know we're holding back our secrets. We're not sharing that with you. But we have our ways. But in all seriousness, each of our Samoyeds are very dear to their Lakip. It's part of our identity, it's part of our feasts, it's part of our qualifications, our history. It's part of the way that we will continue to flourish. I want to say that personally I had no idea the Queer. As one of the speakers put it, we're not all groomed to be who we are. Sometimes we're just told. Mom said, you're next. Oh. Well, I'm busy having fun out there, playing soccer, playing hockey, and you know, all the extracurricular activities that go along with sports. I don't have time. But your mom says something, it's law. That's our law that we have here today from our city yet. And we just want to share that with you again, share it with you over and over again. A small part of who we are. Not sure what we're going to call the next one. But if you're interested, we're still here. We'll be here for a long time. And at this point, I'd like to ask Bill.
Okay, just like to make a note that there's a credit missing on here. This function would not be possible without work of Betty and their staff and Megan. And I'd like you guys all to give them a nice big hand for this.
Thank you, Bill. I was looking at it and there's something missing there. And nail it on the head. Just wanted to ask WISEX to help close our meeting. In prayer.
semiligheten sigurna it uliser doiset it ismul wachsen Saturn aliasum I nit get nakul just wanted to say that thank everyone for all your wonderful feedback and for being here and to remember the sacredness of this land. It is very, very sacred to us, this last of this pristine wilderness that we are all responsible for, and primarily the Gitxsan are totally responsible for. And I just want to thank all of the people who organized this and the communication crew and all the different ministry departments that have come to be here today and to glean a little bit about who we are as Gitxsan. The Northwest is probably the largest grouping of First Nations people in the province of BC. So you have a lot of work cut out ahead of you. And I really wanted to thank Gitxsan for his vision, along with his advisory Simogit, that he has brought the process this far. And that, you know, without somebody having a vision and a dream and to bring us along with it, you know, you can't have a dream unless you work towards it. And I just wanted to remind everybody that we all have stewardship of wherever we are. We are responsible for the words that come out of our mouths, the actions that we have, the thoughts in our hearts. And I wish you all well because, you know, we're only here for a moment in time. And then we are gone just like the mist on the river. We need to remember that so that each and every person that you see, you don't know when you will see that person again. Life is fragile. Life is wonderful. And I am totally enriched by the experience that I heard today and the wonderful speeches that were made by people who are very knowledgeable about our culture. So I'd like you to, you wanted me to do the prayer? Yeah. That was just an introduction. Would you please stand? Our Father, Creator God, we stand before you ever so grateful for everything stems from you. We have each other. When we have the will and when our hearts are bound together and our minds work out a solution that will be beneficial to the Gitxsan. We have been impoverished for long enough. And we're rising out of the ashes of our ancestors. We ask you to continue to walk with each and every one of us as we make our way home. And we'd like to have a blessing for the families that are at home waiting for us. And that we continue to build a truly meaningful relationship with each other. That we can continue on this journey that we call life. This we ask in your precious name. And I ask you each to pray in your own hearts. Hallelujah. Amen.
Meeting adjourned.
That's useful.